You belong on every ground your feet grace, so don't ever feel out of place. Take up space and belong. This earth is your birthplace. Since I started this best worst series, I felt like I should just keep it going. So in this video, I'm going to give y'all my best worst protagonists in anime, and these are just main characters in anime that kind of get a bad rap, but I feel like, you know, either that I like them or I just feel like leave them alone. So the first person on that list is Usagi. I feel like Usagi, and I agree with this, okay? I agree with, what everybody thinks, but I feel like she's very bratty, very self-centered, very bratty, very spoiled. She like whines a lot and stuff like that. And Sailor Moon, um she can be a bit annoying. Like, I'm not gonna lie, she gets on my nerve a lot of the time. Although she is annoying, she is very good at getting others to do her bidding. She works smarter, not harder. She is a strong character. She solves problems. She gets people to follow her, and she is very charming. I don't care what y'all think about that, but not every protagonist has to overwork themselves to be good protagonists, and she shows that. Because of that reason. Yes, she is annoying. Yes, she whines a lot. Yes, she is a crybaby, but fight her. That's all I gotta say. Fight her. The next on my list is Naruto. Okay. I love me some Naruto, but he do have flaws that I feel can be very problematic. Um and I feel like Naruto gets a lot of love, but I also think he gets a lot of hate. And I'm really addressing the hate and why he shouldn't be hated. Like, I understand that Naruto is one of those characters that are very obnoxious and very forceful when it comes to his love, his friendship. It's like, accept my love, accept my friendship. I want to love you and stuff like that. But it's kind of like with in anime with characters like Itachi and Sasuke who are very traumatized by the things that they've gone through, a character like Naruto is needed to have that balance. Somebody who is just relentless when it comes to being a good person, when it comes to helping people, when it comes to protecting his friends and the people that he loved, when it comes to reaching his dreams and using whoever he has to use to get to that point. I feel like when you have characters like them who are a slave to their trauma, somebody like Naruto who lets things just roll off his back and he keeps going forward and keeps being a good person is needed. Like, I feel like a character like that is needed. To me, he is a very likable character without doing that. I kind of feel like he's written to seem really desperate. He comes off really desperate and needy and attention seeking, and I understand why. He also has trauma, even though people love to argue that Naruto was too young to understand what losing his parents is like. That is absolutely a lie. You're never too young to understand what it means to lose people close to you, especially your parents. He literally never got to meet his parents. He should have been the problem child, and he was in some ways, but I feel like Naruto is a good protagonist because he found everybody who had similar experiences as him and made them his friends so they wouldn't be alone and they wouldn't be mistreated. He wanted to be what he needed to other people who have gone through the same things he went through. And I think that's what makes him a great protagonist. But I feel like um his personality, a lot of the things that he embodies, it can be looked at as trauma based too. It can be looked at as him having trauma from the things that happened to him, and this is the way he copes with it by inviting everybody in and like, I want everybody to be friends and let's kumbaya and all of this stuff. And I know it's not realistic, but I feel like for characters like Gara, because I don't feel like Gara is like Sasuke and Itachi, but I feel like Gara was very, he was a very lonely character. And when he met Naruto, it meant a lot to him. That relationship right there to me is one of my favorites of that anime. And I feel like he was needed. I don't care what y'all say. He needed to be the way that he was, to keep that balance, to help a lot of people that a lot of the time didn't even know that they needed help or that they wanted it. But when he never gave up on them, and when they realized like what he was trying to do, because even Sasuke, once he realized his faults and he realized what was wrong with him, because he did admit that he didn't know how to love, he didn't know how to have feelings aside from anger and stuff like that. But when you have somebody like Naruto who never gives up on you, you become thankful for it. But I know he gets a lot of love, but he also gets a lot of hate. Also, I feel like Naruto is the protagonist. He is the protagonist that all other anime should model their protagonists after. The third person is Ashta from Black Clover. I understand that Ashta is annoying. He is one of those people that is like toxic positivity. This nigga is always positive and always like upbeat, always with a lot of energy, and he is very protective of his friends as well. He is very determined to be, he kind of reminds me of Naruto in that respect. He's very determined to be the Wizard King one day. And I feel like a lot of people dislike him because of his personality. And I started having to do voiceovers because I was going on and on about certain characters, but I feel like they didn't give us enough instances to empathize with Ashta. The only time like we really got to see his heart was when he was fighting, but aside from that, when he wasn't fighting, when they weren't in fights, we didn't really get to see, we didn't really get to feel him as a character. We didn't get emotionally attached to him as a character, aside from him being a good person and him helping everybody and him being determined and strong and stuff like that. But I do feel like Ashta is a good protagonist because he is all of those things, even though they don't give us enough emotional moments with him. And I feel like they do that with all of the shonen protagonists. Like the only time we really get to the root of who they are is in a fight. But outside of fight scenes, you don't really get to see who these people are and like what drives them. We see what drives them to fight, but we don't see what drives them in everyday life. And we know Ashta wants to be the Wizard King. We see that he wants to be the Wizard King or whatever, but outside of that, we don't really get to, his personality doesn't really have a whole lot of depth and substance to it. So it makes it hard for him to like, because all you have is his loud mouth and his determination in fights. He doesn't really have a lot of depth to him, but I do feel like Ashta is a good protagonist because of his willingness to, and his, and you know, his the fact that he just doesn't give up, like, and he is determined to be the Wizard King, and he's gonna protect his friends. He love him some, you know. I feel like, he there's a lot to be desired from that character, but I do feel like he's a he's an okay protagonist. I'm not gonna say he's the best. I know he's not a lot of people's favorites, but I feel like there's room for development. I also see a lot of similarities to Ichigo in Ashta's character when it comes to like the power, the devil power that he ends up getting, the anti-magic sword, and just what he embodies, and kind of the same as Ichigo being looked at as scum. But every time something happens, the Soul Society is always looking to him to help. I feel like I see similarities in Ashta with the way he's treated by the royals, but he still chooses to fight and help in any way he can. Number 3 is Kaneki. And I kind of feel like it's the same with Kaneki. He has the potential to be a great protagonist, but there's no depth there. We don't really know much about Kaneki. We just know that he had a crush on this girl. He ends up going on a date with her, walks her home, and she ends up trying to eat him. Basically, she was a ghoul. She ends up trying to eat him, and something happens. I think something falls on her or something like that, or on both of them, and they end up putting her organs inside of him, and it ends up turning him into a ghoul. And that's pretty much all we know about him. There's really not a whole lot of backstory. I don't know if the manga is different or whatever. I know a lot of y'all like will tell me like, read the manga, it's different, and I will, okay? But I'm an anime girl. I can't help it. I don't be having time to read all of those things because I do read a lot already, and I write a lot already. So, but there are some that I would check out. But like I was saying, I do feel like Kaneki has the potential to be a great protagonist, but there's not a lot of depth. We know that before he becomes a ghoul, his character is very boring. He's nerdy, and like if it wasn't for his friend, I forgot the blonde hair boy name, I don't feel like we would be interested in him. But when he gets that white hair, all of a sudden, because y'all know the white hair effect, he's interesting. But also at the same time, no, he's not. He's not interesting. The white hair didn't make him a better character. It didn't. So I understand why people think that he's not that great of a protagonist, but I feel like the potential is there. It's just I think the best episode was the second because it had more action. But I do think that Kaneki was a better protagonist in the third season, which we don't like, because of how it was written. But he had the leadership qualities. He was kind-hearted. He was compassionate. Um, in the third season, it's just the storyline was kind of weird. But I feel like he's a great protagonist in that season. I understand why people don't really like him like that, but like I said, I feel like the potential is there, but the writing needs to be a little better. Like when it comes to who he is as a person, like I know he's a ghoul now, and now it's about he left to kind of protect the people that he loved, which I also didn't like, but I guess I understood too because they were peaceful ghouls who only fought when necessary. But Kaneki wanted to get busy. He wanted to get busy, so he joined. Was it Algetti that he joined, or is that the name of it? I can't remember where he joined or whatever. But I feel like I was saying, okay, let me stay on task because I feel like this video is gonna be so long. But I said I didn't like that he left his loved ones to join Algetti, to kind of make things better for the ghouls, but I also understand it now. He kind of have a martyr mentality, like sacrificing himself for the greater good, and I feel like he doesn't get credit for that because it comes off as cowardly a little bit, and like him leaving the people who helped him um to fight in a war that they didn't want to fight. They were more peaceful, and he felt like he needed to be proactive in protecting his loved ones. I know that they did fight, but it was usually when they had to, when they didn't have any choice. But Kaneki wanted to be on the front lines, and he wanted to protect the people who helped him so much. And I think that's why he left. So I see the different perspective now. It could be better, but at the same time, like I feel like he when it comes to like the way the anime writes protagonists like that, to me, he is a pretty good one. Like, cause let's be real, they don't write protagonists that well. In a lot, especially a lot of shonen anime, they don't really have a whole lot to them. They just like to fight. They protect their people. I feel like Luffy is the only one that kind of gets by, and I feel like it's because of the people around him, not necessarily him. If you took Luffy and put him in his own show, would we love him as much? I don't know, but I feel like the people around him make him shine as a character. If you're gonna write like a basic protagonist, like I said, Goku, Ashta, Kaneki, you need the people around them to be amazing characters, because a lot of the time being the main character doesn't necessarily mean that you are the best written. But if you can utilize the people around you, you can become a great protagonist. You could be a great main character. But I feel like with Goku, they failed with that. Like, the people around him to me are not that interesting, and like it doesn't help his, to me, basic character design or whatever. But it ain't about him. Number 4 is Natsu. I feel like Natsu gets a lot of hate. I feel like Fairy Tail gets a lot of hate in general or whatever from different people or whatever. It's not up to par and stuff like that. And I get it. I get Fairy Tail does have its flaws, but Natsu, to me, of all of these characters that I've read aside from Usagi, to me is, I feel like, yeah, his backstory needs to be fleshed out. They need to expand on it and stuff like that. But compared to Ashta and Kaneki, we know a lot more about Natsu. We find out a lot of things about him or whatever. Actually, we found out a good bit about him, like through Zeref, and like Zeref being his brother, and then Natsu dying and him bringing him back to life, and how he gets with Igneel, and we find out where, what happened to the dragons, why they disappeared, where they were located. We find out that Natsu is one of the demons out of Zera's book. He is E&D. I feel like we find out enough about him. Is it everything that you want to know? No. But we find out enough about him because his character is so tied to Zeref that there's no choice. Zeref is one of the main antagonists in Fairy Tail. Natsu so happens to be his brother, and he's the antagonist. And I feel like through finding out who Zeref is, we find out who Natsu is. And I do feel like there are things that they could still give us answers to certain things. And I'm hoping with the new was it 100 years quest that we see more of that, like how they did with 1,000 Year Blood War. I'm hoping that we see a lot more. I haven't watched it yet. But I kind of feel like compared to these other people, we got enough information to go off of when it comes to Natsu, who he is, how he became the way that he is, or whatever. Um, like I said, a lot of shonen characters don't be written that well. There's, like I said, there's the all bronze, no brains. Like, they don't be smart. But I feel like as a fighter, Natsu should be one of those one of those most talked about characters, but I don't feel like he gets that respect, because to me he is really, like, for to me Naruto and him are, like, they are, to me, like, pretty much the same. um of course, different but the same. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. So I don't know. I feel like he get a lot of flack because Fairy Tail get a lot of flack. And do I feel like I feel like Urza would have been a better main character. I even feel like Gray could have been a better main character. Or Lucy. Do y'all think Lucy or Natsu is the main character? Because I think Lucy is the main character of Fairy Tail, right? But her, like, story is about Natsu, right? So I guess it depends on who you think is the protagonist of Fairy Tail. I think it's him, though. I just kind of feel like she is, like, following this nigga around. That's how they make it seem, that, like, she's following him around and just kind of watching him, writing about it or whatever. But I do feel like he don't really deserve all of the hate that he get. I feel like Natsu is a good character if you're going by how shonen anime characters are written. He has all of the things, okay? Um, yeah, cause I'll be talking for everybody. These people. Number 5 is Kirito. Oh, number 6. Number 6 is Kirito. I feel like Kirito gets a lot of flack, okay, and I get it. I feel like there's a lot that's missing from Sword Art Online. Like, for instance, we don't really know how Kirito powers up and how he becomes one of the strongest characters in Sword Art Online. We just know that he is, and we just kind of have to accept it. We don't really get to see it. We don't get to see him building that up, but we see him like helping other people and like, you know, when him and Asuna become close and like him joining the what the freak is the front lines with her and all of that or whatever, and like them doing like missions and stuff together. We see that you know what I think? Belle from Is It Wrong to Pick Up a Girl in a Dungeon is Kirito 2.0. That's how I feel. I don't know if y'all ever seen that anime, but to me, he's Kirito 2.0 because like they're similar characters, but I kind of feel like the people around him make him more interesting. This is what I mean. When you gonna do a basic main character, you need those supporting characters to be interesting. Otherwise, it may fall flat. But I feel like Belle from Is It Wrong to Pick Up a Girl in the Dungeon is like Kirito 2.0. At least that's how I feel. But I feel like Kirito, I think he's a good protagonist. Like when it comes to him carrying out, okay, I feel like protagonists should be judged by their characteristics, their abilities, skills, or whatever, and if they carry out their mission, like the people around them, the leader that they can be, like being a leader and stuff like that, and if they carry out their mission, and Kirito carries out his mission. I feel like Sword Art Online gets weird when Kirito and Asuna gets that little girl, that little, I don't even know what to, I forgot what she was or whatever, and they're like playing house with her. It gets weird when that happens because it's like, what's the point of this? We already know these two like each other. You don't have to do this to push their romance. Like, it was pointless to me, and I feel like it gets weird right there. But I do feel like he has all of the things that I feel like a protagonist should have. He has, to me, I feel like when it comes to like his character, his personality, he's very like he comes off as introverted, but at the same time, he doesn't have any issues like talking to people, socializing with people, helping people and stuff like that. So I can't even say introverted, but he comes off a loner. He comes off as a loner, but he ends up learning how to work with a group. And I feel like um he is a good leader. Asuna to me is kind of like what Zoro is to Luffy, because I feel like Asuna was smarter. I think both of them were smart, but I feel like she was smart, like smarter. She not necessarily smarter, but she had a different perspective of how to do things or whatever. Also her storyline was more interesting. I'm not gonna lie, it was, but Kirito was a part of that storyline. But I feel like because of her, I'm not gonna say solely because of her, he's a good protagonist, but I feel like he's a good protagonist. I can see him. He was a great leader. They followed him. Nobody had any issues with that. He was a great fighter. We didn't get to see how he was able to get the strength that he got, but he was a great fighter to me. Um, and you know, even though he had loner vibes, he still was able to get along with people. Like the girls loved Kirito. He was getting the girls. Like not just Asuna, but the girls loved him. Okay? They were crazy about him. Also like Kirito, like in the it's a season 2 and then in Gun Gale Online, like having the avatar that he had or whatever. I just kind of wonder what was the point of that or whatever. But I just kind of feel like the girls liked him when they got to know who he was. They liked him. He was a great leader. Like people was following him willingly. Even Asuna, who was also a strong character, she was following him willingly. So I feel like that makes him a good protagonist. But whatever. I think that's 6, right? And I had an honorable mention 7 from Scissors 7. I kind of feel like 7 doesn't get talked about a lot. Scissor 7, I don't see people talk about that a lot, but I like him. Like, I know that character, and I know that anime is kind of like satirical, and I like the character. It's funny. Like, I know the anime is very short. It's funny, but at the same time, Seven can get busy too. He a klutz. Sometimes he don't be having it together. But when it's time to get busy, Seven can get busy too. And I feel like he is not talked about enough. And he's my honorable mention for that reason. But yeah, I think this is the end of the video. This is long, but it's okay. Let me know what y'all think about my list. Like, do y'all understand where I'm coming from? Do y'all disagree? Why don't y'all think that these characters are good protagonists? And what do you think would make them good protagonists? Like, let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about the video again, and thank you for watching. Bye! Before you go, check out my website at srgrahamwrites.org and subscribe to my mailing list to get exclusive updates on works in progress, other news, and blog posts. Thank you.